Sidious sought to rule forever, yet the dark side devours the stagnant. He silenced the Jedi, only to be undone by a whisper of prophecy. Listen closely, my apprentices, for today's lesson is one of both triumph and failure. We speak of Darth Sidious, the Sith who nearly destroyed the Jedi Order and reshaped the galaxy in his image. He was the accumulation of generations of Sith plotting, the ultimate architect of deception and control. His mind was unmatched, his patience infinite, and his cunning beyond compare. And yet, despite all his strength, despite the vast empire he built upon the ashes of the Republic, he fell, not by the hands of armies, not by the power of the Jedi, but by his own arrogance, by his love of cruelty, by his foolish pride. Had he been a true master of power, discipline, focus, and without indulgence, he would still reign. Strength without control is recklessness. Power without wisdom is self-destruction. And cruelty is the weakness of lesser beings. Sidious understood a truth that most Sith before him weren't able to grasp. Brute force alone does not win wars. The Sith had been hunted for centuries, not because they were weak, but because they lacked subtlety. The Jedi had become complacent, but still outnumbered the Sith, still had the galaxy in their grasp. Had Sidious emerged as a conqueror, they would have crushed him long before he grew strong. So he did not act as a warrior. He acted as a shadow, embedded himself within the Republic, rose through its ranks, and charmed its leaders. He wore a mask of humility, of wisdom, of servitude. The Jedi saw only a kind politician, a harmless scholar. He created conflict where none existed, turned allies into enemies, and spread paranoia like a disease. Through war, he granted himself emergency powers. Through manipulation, he turned the Republic against itself. He did not seize power, he had it handed to him by fools who thought they were acting in their own self-interests. These apprentices, this is true power, to make others believe they are choosing their fate, when in reality, every step is being carefully laid out by your hand. Sidious did not need to demand loyalty. He made people want to serve him. He became the supreme chancellor, not by conquest, but by applause. And in that moment, he had already won. And so the Jedi fell, not by war, not by battle, but by their own blindness. Sidious turned their own army against them, turned their own chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, into his greatest weapon. With a single command, Order 66, the Jedi were purged, their temples burned, their kind nearly exterminated. It was the closest the Sith had ever come to true victory. The Jedi were scattered, broken, their numbers reduced to nothing. Had Sidious been disciplined, had he acted with finality, he would have ensured their extinction. But instead, he indulged. He let a few survivors survive, not out of necessity, but out of arrogance. He toyed with Yoda. Instead of striking him down instantly, he allowed Obi-Wan Kenobi to escape, despite his power to end him. He believed himself untouchable. He did not act as a conqueror. He played as a tormentor. A Sith does not play. A Sith does not toy with power. A Sith destroys. Swiftly and without mercy. The Jedi should have been wiped out from the galaxy completely, but Sidious let his pride stray his hand, and so the seeds of his destruction were planted. Sidious believed fear was the greatest tool of rule. He ruled the empire through terror, through suffering, through pain inflicted not out of necessity, but because he enjoyed it. He crushed entire worlds, not as a display of strength, but because he took pleasure in watching them burn. But terror is a fragile thing. It does not breed loyalty. It does not build an empire that will span 1,000 years. Fear makes people desperate, and desperate people will do anything to break free. The rebellion did not rise because the Jedi inspired them. It rose because Sidious made life unbearable. Had he ruled with charisma, with manipulation, with calculated control, the people would have worshipped him as a god. His greatest mistake, Vader. An apprentice is not a servant. A true Sith apprentice is a blade that you sharpen, a weapon that you forge. But Sidious sought not a partner in conquest, but a broken man. He took Anakin and shattered him, stripped him of nothing but pain and obedience. He believed Vader's suffering made him loyal, but what it truly made him was patient. Had Sidious nurtured Vader's power, had he granted him purpose, Vader might never have turned against him. But in the end, all Sidious had created was a slave, and at the right moment found the strength to break his chains. And when the apprentice betrays the master has only himself to blame. And so Sidious fell, not in battle, not by superior forces and strength, but by his own hand, by his arrogance, by his cruelty, by his refusal to rule with purpose. Had he been ruthless, more efficient, had he been feared but admired, had he been a master and not a tormentor, his rule would have been eternal. He could have wiped the Jedi entirely, but he let his ego make him careless. He could have forged an empire that would stand for millennia, but he let cruelty rot its foundation. He could have nurtured his apprentice into a true Sith Lord, but he let his fear of betrayal make him a tyrant instead of a teacher. These are the mistakes you must never make, my apprentice. Inspire devotion, not just terror. But when the moment of power is in your grasp, take it fully, without arrogance, without hesitation, and without indulgence. Sidious had the galaxy in his hands, and yet in the end, he was nothing more than a withered old man, screaming as he was thrown to his death by the very tool he created. Do not be Sidious, my apprentice. Be better.